Hello, Ben Kaplan here. I am in my studio, affectionately called Kaplan Crunch, within the halls of Fader Mountain Sound, once the historic Little Mountain Sound. What we're going to talk about today is mix preparation. A lot of the sessions that I get, particularly over the last little while with pandemic and things of that nature, a lot of musicians are working at home. A lot of musicians are mixing themselves or recording themselves. And as a mixer, one of the kind of hurdles that I get thrown is I get sessions that are supposed to be mixed and are not really ready to be mixed. So, as a mixer at home, these are probably some of the problems you deal with as well. So what I'm going to go over is how to prepare yourself for a mix. The way that I do it, whether I've recorded it or somebody else recorded it or whoever, there's a process I go through to make it mix ready. And it's an often overlooked process where we kind of divide the creative and recording process and then focus on the mixing process. So things like editing, tuning, timing, recording, programming, and all that stuff, we want to get done before the mix process. So that once we're actually mixing, we're just focusing on mixing the whole time, not kind of going back and forth. Now, that all being said, with technology that we have, we can always add things. And that's not to say that, once you're in the mix process, you're not adding, you're not creating or anything. But the more of that we can deal with before we get into the mix process, the more you're going to be able to concentrate on the mix and be able to really focus on getting the sound and the vision of the mix and not being kind of distracted by any kind of creative side that maybe you forgot to do. So besides the editing, tuning, and timing, we're going to talk about labeling. We're going to talk about consolidating files. We're going to talk about color coding files. Doing cue markers, making sure the labeling on both the files and on the title tracks or the mixer title tracks are all nice and legible. So again, once we get into that mixing process, we're streamlined into just a mixing scenario. I'm going to go through a couple sessions here of what to do and what not to do. And then I'm going to go through kind of my process of how I take a session that I've kind of finished, my working session, and I'm going to switch over into mix mode and kind of the workflow that I do before I even start mixing anything, which is really what we're talking about and which is probably one of the most important parts of my workflow, because once that's all done, the mixing doesn't actually take that long. If all the stuff isn't done, then the mixing can take a whole lot longer for really no reason. So let's take a dive in and have a look at a couple examples and see what not to do first.